Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Shi Ming. Today, our team is going to present the High-Speed 2 project and its hidden cost to Britain's wildlife. First of all, please allow me to introduce our team. This is Andrew, this is Hannah, this is Yandy, this is Lasser. Then I describe the background of HS2. HS2 is a high-speed train which is a significant development from the current rail system. It is one of the great infrastructure projects of the world, which would transform the current rail network. It would develop our economic and address the future needs of public transport for high-speed Britain. The whole project are based on two phases. Which is going to connect our major cities. So phase 1 from the London to Birmingham, phase 2 from Birmingham to Manchester and Leeds. It is going to have extension with Edinburgh and Glasgow. Let's look at the PPT. The first phase is due to start construction in 2017 and is finished in 2026. And the others is due for completion in 2033. The government has announced that this program will encourage the environmental protection and sustainability developments. Secondly, it brings convenience, and the government has planned that to run 36 high-speed trains every hour. It is a very expensive project which costs 33 billion, but it is expected to exit. The whole lines are about 330 miles and expected to increase. And it passes through the most major cities.
The High-Speed 2 network will transform rail travel in Great Britain. It's the backbone to a new high-speed Britain, connecting the north and the south, linking 18 cities and cutting many existing journey times by almost half. With up to 36 high-speed trains running on the network every hour, it'll put 2/3 of the population of northern England within 2 hours of central London. Leeds will only be 1 hour and 22 minutes from London, 50 minutes quicker than the current journey time. New stations will provide fast onward connections to over 18 other destinations. Manchester to Birmingham will be 41 minutes, 47 minutes faster than it is now. High-Speed 2 will be an engine for growth for the 21st century, one of the great infrastructure projects of the world, bringing our cities closer together, creating tens of thousands of jobs and new opportunities for us all.
Okay, let's look at the purpose. In accordance to the government, the purpose behind HS2 is the strong growth for 21st century, which would be by reduced journey time and the connecting north with south, which will help the local producers to bring their products and service to other major cities. And it creates 100,000 jobs, and which could keep the Britain moving. Prime Minister David Cameron said HS2 will link communities and business across the country, and shrinking the distance between our greatest cities. And is an agent for growth that will help to drive regional generation and invigorate our regional economic. It will vital that we get on the board on the high-speed revolution. He also said high-speed rail is a catalyst that will help to secure our economic prosperity across the Britain. Reveals our economic and supports tens of thousands jobs. Then for business effect, I pass that to you.
From the business perspective, there are advantages and disadvantages. The advantages are job creation and development of the economy. And according to the Hamburger website, job creation will rebalance our economy by creating thousands of jobs and boosting businesses through the norm. This will result in more spending by employees and will be more money pumped to the market. Less expense on the government because of decrease of unemployment. From the development and of the economy point of view, there are 3 points. More customers, enhancing transport and cargo. And first of them is increasing number of passengers, which will result in more profit from the tickets. And every year benefits from the HS2 project will reach 560 million pounds, and this is according to BBC article. Now let's move to the enhanced transport and cargo. And according to GoHS2 website, there will appear better access to larger pool of employees for local businesses, and improving productivity and reducing business costs, as well as increased connection to a wider range of businesses on the market. And according to Logistics Insights, the rail freight service would increase in cuts of carbon by this HS2 network by over 50%, which will lower costs as well. And let's move to the disadvantages for businesses. First of them will increase of taxation. This is because of the European Union emission trading system. And these trains will increase in carbon emissions because of high speed of these trains. And company will need to pay more taxes because of going above carbon emissions limits, which is according to European Union law. The second one is more consumption of energy of these trains. And according to StopAS2 website, the planned speed of these trains will be 330 kilometers per hour. And this will consume huge amounts of energy. According to Business Green website, the 400 kilometers per hour use 3 times more energy than classical trains, which is half of the speed. According to Christopher Stokes' 51M report, China lowered speed to 300 kilometers per hour, and in Europe, the current trains runs up to 320 kilometers per hour. This shows that this is unsustainable approach of government in this investment, and also for that reason, company will need to pay more taxes, as mentioned in the first point. And finally, there is planned increase in demand by about 133%, and this is according to StopHS2 website. And this can be confronted with the article from Telegraph, which says that nowadays peak time trains are half capacity of peak time trains between London and Birmingham is half of passengers in these trains, and so there are still places on the train between London and Birmingham, even in peak time times. Also, more competition can cause need for expenses reductions, and in companies, which can lead to unsustainable processes And as for example, as recent issue with horsemeat, and in this industry it can be reflected in cuts on health and safety. So from the taxpayer's perspective, it's passed to Yanbi.
Hi, I'm Yanbi. I'm going to talk about the regional 4 and against HS2 from citizen perspectives. And of course, the program will provide some advantages for citizens. First of all, it will create new opportunities for people to get jobs. According to BBC, it will provide tens of thousands of jobs for people. And to be more specific, the chairman of the Manchester committee said the HS2 will create up to 30,000 jobs in Manchester, and therefore the unemployment rate will go down, and people with existing jobs will have more opportunities to develop. Secondly, it will cut down the journey time by half. According to BBC, it can be clearly from the graph. The HS2 will cut the journey time between Birmingham to Leeds from 2 hours to 57 minutes, and phase 1 will cut the time from London to Birmingham by 1 hour 24 minutes to 49 minutes, and phase 2 will cut the journey time from London to Manchester from 2 hours and 8 minutes to 1 hour and 8 minutes. And according to the Department for Transport 2012, the cutting journey time by half will be more convenient for the people who are working in the different cities. Thirdly, it's a necessary public transportation facility for the future. According to the London recognitions, the population of the UK will keep increasing in the future years, and to the 2020, there will be not enough transportation facilities for people. And according to the Cleveland CDI Director Generation, who supports the citizens, therefore HS2 will be able to receive the mocap city and will be able to solve the problems by people who want to take public transportation. On the other hand, there will be some other disadvantages for the program. First of all, it will increase the public emissions for the future. According to the Mail Online 2013, the program will cut about 100,000 trees in the Midlands and destroy some other green areas, which will be able to absorbing carbon dioxide and release oxygen. So therefore, the contents of oxygen and carbon dioxide will lose the balance. And however, according to the Telegraph, the government is focused on reduce the carbon and invest in renewable energy. So for example, according to the Mail Online, the people may need to pay extra £200 for the renewable energy in 2020 if they want to reduce the carbon emissions for the future. And secondly, the program also will destroy about 227 properties, which include 5 community facilities and 179 commercial properties and 42 industrial properties, so that people need to move in their house and select for some other property to live. And also the people are considered about the facility matters, especially for the people who are living beside the railway lines, and because the high speed may cause some risks. Last, according to the government UK, there will be at least 17,700 people expected to experience the noisy impact, and 1,500 on the Western Line and 6,200 people on the Eastern Line. With the solutions, the numbers will be reduced, but not too much. For economic growth analysis, I pass to Hannah.
So now we're going to argue the benefits to business. That's why I'm going to talk about economic growth firstly, and then secondly, Cassie is going to talk about the environment cost. So firstly, according to the government, the project will create 100,000 jobs, which the main benefit would be the boost of the economy by decreasing the employment and therefore encouraging or even increasing the consumption. The first economical benefit is the cost saving because workers will save time during their business trips, which will impact the business. Secondly, increased attractiveness because it will be easier to get access to some region because of faster train and more frequent. The attractiveness of some region will increase. Then new business opportunities according to the independent journal, the company would be able to address and get access to a wider market. Then the project will redress the north-south divide, according to BBC, by boosting the economy of the north. It will rebalance the UK's economy. And then it will create and reinforce the economic connections between the north and the south. The question is the creation of 10,000 jobs and reduced journey time really a progress? Because firstly, there are a lot of data like how many jobs or the benefits, and they are all different. So that makes us doubt of the truth of this data. And secondly, on 40,000 jobs predicted by HS2, only 22.5% of them are not permanent. Therefore, this is not really a progress. Then the journey will be shorter, yes, but not thanks to technological progress, only because the journey will be straight without any curve. And then what about employees of other sectors of transport? This project will create jobs, of course, but what about competitor sector, such as plane or buses? We must think of the impact on these sectors and therefore the impact on the people who work in. Then about the connectivity, the project will connect the West Midlands to London, which will bring the business opportunities from London to the west, to the north of Scotland. And then the project will improve the West Midland competitive position as a place for economic activity and spreading the prosperity and productivity of London to the north. And then better access to European distribution channels, because it will connect England to European countries and then bring the European productivity to England. The project will impact the tourism because faster trains, more comfortable, more capacity is going to make the north regions more attractive, and then therefore it will attract more tourists. The project improves long-distance passenger transport, therefore more people from the south of England will agree to travel on a long distance. Therefore, it's an opportunity for the local businesses with more tourists. So now Lassie is going to talk about environmental cost.
For the environmental damage, we will first of all focus on the animal killings. In accordance to a Spanish study, a high-speed train kills about 36 animals per kilometre, so the proposed line of HS2 at the moment is 330 miles, which would be about 531 kilometres, which is going to end up killing 19,116 animals per year. The Independence 2013 reported the same thing, and the animals which is going to be dying would be mammals, reptiles, and amphibians. Right, it's not only about killing the animals, it's also about taking their houses away and dividing the land in two parts, because the rail line is going to go right in the middle of whatever forest land. Brentwood Forest, Light Shot Meadows, Waterhay Woodland Park, Broad Lake Natural Reserve. As I told you, that's the house of Burkiston Bat, Light Shot Meadows as rare birds, Waterhay Woodland Park would be skylarks and woodpeckers, and at the end the Broadwater Lake Natural Reserve is the house of wetland breeding birds communities. These are some of the rare species of Britain, and they all are at the threat at the moment because they would either be killed or they would either lose their house, and if they disappear from the wildlife of UK, then HS2 would be responsible for that. And why? I will tell you in forest land what would be the damage. Let's go back, let's go to the carbon emission, and I'll go to a simple carbon reduction plan, because trees at the moment takes carbon dioxide in and give oxygen out. So at the moment the government said that they are going to plant 4 million trees in order to compensate for the HS2 project. So let's say if they are damaging 4 million trees, what's going to happen? In accordance to Mike McClaney, 1993, from Land Resources Protection, a single mature tree can inhale 46 lbs carbon in a year and produce enough oxygen for 2 people. So if we do the calculation number 1, carbon calculation, it is going to stop a conversion of 85,714 ton carbon which we are producing at the moment. On the other side, stopping oxygen, as is producing oxygen for 2 people in 1 year, so it's going to stop oxygen for 8 million in 1 year. On the other side, the construction will produce 1.2 million tons of carbon. It also depends on the size of the groundwork and the amount of tunnels which they're going to build. And in accordance to HS2, the journey time which is consumed 3.5 minutes on HS2 is going to consume 23% more energy at the moment, which means that there's automatically high carbon will be produced by HS2 trains. Let's look at the forest land. The HS2 altogether is going to damage more than 350 sites, and in specific, I would like to talk about the area which is called Chiltern. It's the area of natural outstanding beauty in Britain at the moment, and every year it attracts thousands of visitors to Britain. In accordance to the Steve Roderick, Chief Officer of the Conservation Board, Chiltern has a distinctive character and natural beauty which is outstanding, and it's in our national interest to save this beauty. But the train going from the middle of Chiltern is going to cause a huge damage to this national heritage asset. Now I would specifically like to talk about the woodlands and the natural reserve. This habitat took about 400 years to be like that, and non-disturbance. But the government is saying that we are going to compensate you with 4 million trees. I would like to ask you a question that, would they be able to build something like that, or would they be able to replace the natural beauty of the natural reserve of Annexon woodland? Anyone? I would say logically, no. They wouldn't be able to do that. So this is irreplaceable natural beauty which they are going to damage by HS2. let's look at the forest land. And according to the Forestry Commission 2011, said UK has one of the least forest land in whole Europe, whereas the whole European countries go about 37% forest land. After HS2, in accordance to the independence, they said the damage from HS2 would be equivalent to the area size of Dorset. So if we look at the figure at the back, the forest land, it says that the area of Dorset is 2,653 square kilometers, and our land, forest land, is 300,079,000 hectares at the moment. So we've done the calculation, and we find out of 13%, if HS2 goes forward, we will left with 91% of the forest land and 9% of the affected area by HS2. And whole together, if we look at the figure 13%, like whole land of UK, HS2 is going to damage 1.12% of the current forest land, and the forest land which after HS2 would be left with 11.88%. Now I would like to ask you a question. Is this the price you really want to pay for cutting your journey by half? By killing animals, by taking away these natural resources, and by bringing 10,000 jobs or 100,000 jobs? No? Okay. Let me give you the government perspective. The government is saying that they have formed a sustainability team. But the government, when the government planned, there was no sustainability team. They brought the sustainability team in 2010. And after that, after they said the sustainability team is working with the local communities, environment officers, to reduce the damage, and this scheme would avoid any area of outstanding natural beauty. What about 350 sites? And what about the area of children, which is going to be the damage? That's classed as one of the outstanding natural area of beauty. In accordance to the director of HS2 Action Alliance, Hilary Wolf, said that whatever the government is saying, they pretended that it's not going to affect us, but we are definitely going to use this land. Definitely. Go ahead. In order to conclude, we are going to use the CSR for framework of CARL 1996. The first point is economical responsibilities. We do agree that HS2 is going to generate revenue. We do agree it's going to generate jobs, but we don't know at the moment because government is giving you different figures and other resources are giving you different figures. We do know that it's going to connect cities for economical growth, but what about the other area? Legal responsibilities. Appeals are being made because that's going to cause a huge damage to the environment. In Birmingham, there's about 6 judicial reviews. They are waiting the results to come back. Ethical responsibilities. 20,000 animals are going to be killed every year. On top of that, the carbon conversion, I told you, and the oxygen stop is going to stop. You're going to damage your forest land, which is there for about 400 years. On top of that, philanthropic responsibilities. The bad thing is the government is doing something on the name of sustainability, which is totally not sustainable, as we proved to you there, and the legal and ethical responsibilities, and as I told you, how much damage is going to do the forest. So we don't think so as a sustainable idea of government to progress with HS2. Thank you very much indeed.
Did they give any indication of how that's going to affect me when I travel up to Scotland and London?
Yes. The figures at the moment are, if the government run the train at 350 miles, it's going to consume more energy than our classical train. So government is getting the pressure to bring the speed down. But if they bring the speed down, what's the purpose to have this whole HS2? Because it's supposed to be HS2. If they bring the speed down to about 200 kilometers, the journey time in Edinburgh, where we're sitting from London it's only going to be reduced by 20 minutes. Only 20 minutes. Yes?
Where is the government getting 33 billion from? Is it the
As-
UK taxpayer?
As the UK's taxpayer, you guys are going to pay the money, as we are paying at the moment the taxes on the energy bill, which government is investing on the renewable energy. This is how the money is going to come out of your pockets.
I would like to ask you about what do you think of this project? With any of these other members?
So this is not sustainable approach, because like still we have like more jobs, but there are many disadvantages of this. Like wild nature will be destroyed. Like not very. Like, the advantage of this is like cutting time, basically. And it's not very good. It is progress, but not like very high for taxpayers.
So because of the cost, you would not, because of the environment. Over to you, Nasser?
Yeah, sorry. Right, I will go back to the map, and I want to give you a point. Right, sorry. Right, if we look at the map, logically, if I look at the map, can you see these lines? Like, you put a scale on the UK's map, and you draw it from London to Birmingham, and you say, okay, this is the area needs to be clear. I don't care about anything. This area needs to be clear. This is what happened. You look at these lines. There's no consideration whatever is coming in these lines, and they are taking that away. It's not only one map. Every map where you look at, the map is like that. They said, this is the shortest route. If that goes straight, don't care, just go straight. And after that, when as a bad publicity coming into the public's eye, then they formed this sustainability team, or we are working together with the local communities, and we're going to reduce the damage. What if you are damaging and then reducing it? What if you're killing animals? You're not going to bring more animals. If you're killing the animals, how the hell government is going to get those animals back? No way. On the other side, if you are talking about the economical growth, let's say it's giving you economical growth, but other side, if you look, we give you the figures for tourists, how much revenue we generate every year from the tourists. It's also going to affect your tourists. They're not going to come. The people who want to see the natural beauty of Britain, they wouldn't come. They wouldn't be attracted anymore. Like the area of children I told you about, it attracts thousands of people. These people come from other countries, bring investment into your country. But this is not going to happen anymore. I would say that tourists will come, but there would be some effect or impact on them. Yeah.
But infrastructure in the UK has been an issue for ages. Don't you think that's important? I mean, you take France, they've got a high-speed railway. You take Japan, they've got a high-speed railway. The roads here are congested. They're falling to pieces. Don't you think something needs to be done?
That's a very good question. If you look from that perspective, I'm really in favour. Because if you go Birmingham, if you go London, you have to sit in the queues for hours on the road. But you can take good measurements. You should have a sense, like this is the area, can we not consider any other route? Can we not consider, like you look at the map, there's no consideration being done.
As I agree with your question you did ask before, I'm not sure, but after the presentation, I agree that we should take another route to look into this project. But I think, personally view, I think if you're thinking from London's point of view mostly, because all the businesses that work in London, people in London as well. So.
And there's no doubt about that. Like from London, it is going to be a reach to Europe. that is economical growth, that is going to give a chance to the local producer to get their product out in the European market. But you should have done some consideration before planning a route that what you are going to damage within your country by providing this route to your the people of Britain.
Yanti, do you think we should pay, like the taxpayers should pay as much money?
Personally, I think this problem is really not sustainability, and it's cost too much about the environmental and will be a factor to the green government. And so I think people will not be able to pay that taxes.
Good. So I'll ask one last question and then we'll have a little chat in the groups. The basis of HS2 then is to build a rail on ground. Why can't we just invest in the air? For green technologies in the air?
I think that's up to the government because they are the policy makers. Not even in the air, they've got other options, like they can make flyovers to handle the road which is at Birmingham and London side it is. Definitely that's a very good idea which I think government should consider, like going green with the planes, like coming with some sort of new technology or using something in order to reduce it. Or the government can also government can also take consideration from the public, what public thinks about that, where the money should be invested, because this money is going to come out of their pocket.
Governments can demand whether an airport is built. They can extend an airport like they want to do in Heathrow, and there's all the problems there. Wherever you go, people with sustainability agenda. So I like how you picked up on, we're going to build this thing anyway, but we're going to do it sustainably. Yeah? So it's like economic growth first, then sustainability. Okay? But the technologies are becoming available, and that's your challenge when you go into the workplace. The greatest challenge of your life is to create the technologies that stop these sort of things happening, but allow more greener things to happen. So why can't we just fly in the air, on air? One thing that always taxes me, something very, very basic, is that we need carbon dioxide, don't we? Yeah, because you picked up on this. Carbon dioxide is sucked in by the trees, and out pops oxygen. Yeah, so deforestation is a key issue. And that's a problem with the Amazon. But we need carbon dioxide. So carbon capture, we can put it back in the ground, maybe turn it into coal. We can capture the carbon, turn it into oxygen. So one thing that I am excited about, extremely excited about, but more so for my research and for your lives, is that the future is about taking that premise that carbon can be captured, can be stored, can be converted back into oxygen. And I would argue, it can be argued that future growth can be through the environmental agenda. Because the challenge is now, we've had Facebook, we had the telephone, these big technologies, but the new technologies would be an airplane running on air, or an airplane running on HS2, on water. Because in water it's oxygen and hydrogen, yeah, breaking it down. So these technologies are coming. So where the government can come from, they can build the airports, there's a problem there. And two, they can't really develop the technologies, but they can put money into research, and they cut the budgets. Okay? They can build railways, big infrastructure projects. But one thing that makes an impression on me, wherever I go, a week and a half ago I went into Edinburgh city centre and I went to a climate change group. A year ago I went to a Lunar Society meeting of the scientists in Birmingham, where I live. And every time there's someone, a week and a half ago, someone came out with a suitcase, opened up his suitcase and said, right, this is the next big thing, Dragon's Den would take me on their show. Right? And he said this converts the carbon from the car and just stores it, and then you can bottle it or something and take it away. But it's too big, it's a big technology, it's very heavy. So you couldn't see it in the car today, but tomorrow might be a small technology. Remember telephones were that big. Telephones never had coloured screens or anything like that. They were big chunky things, they were in cars. That's why the car sales, that's why it's called the car phone warehouse, because they were in cars. You couldn't have them in your hand. Okay? So tomorrow's technology, exciting times. The biggest technology we've had in the last 5 years is Facebook. That's transformed your life, transformed my life, transformed my mother. I knew what she was going to bingo last night because of Facebook. Okay? But no, she's on Twitter, but she's never tweeted. But the greatest challenge is you guys coming up with these technologies. Or you might not think that you're working on a technology, but my best friend who lives in Birmingham, he works on the railways and he does points. So he's looking forward to HS2 because he's developing something to do with the lines. Well, he's now part of this big agenda. He's playing a big part, little part. He's coming up with the little drawing, the little nuts and bolts that go on the train tracks. Yeah? So in the big scheme of things, he's contributing to this growth. Right? When you all go into the workplace next year, what are you going to be doing? Or you might not be doing something directly, but you're probably doing something indirectly. Yeah? Okay? So it's a challenge that I want you all to tackle, and we're going to tackle it now in the next 10 minutes. Can we have let's take the middle argument. Okay, so you was extremely strong. That was a fantastic presentation. I don't think anyone's going to get underneath this first so far in these presentations. They're just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal presentations that we've seen. All of the tutors have seen the last couple of weeks. Absolutely phenomenal. But take on board that middle ground. This is where you could have developed a little bit more of an argument. Economic growth through the environment as the enabler, not the thing that gets in the way. The enabler. Coming up with these new technologies. And in chapter 1 of your textbook, Canon, he says that the greatest challenge of the future, so Barack Obama said something like this too, he said it's for business and governments to pursue economic growth. We're talking about Africa out of poverty, we're talking about India out of economic growth, we're talking about China, economic growth driven for a job-rich, carbon-reduced world. Okay, that's the challenge. That's the challenge that's going to define the next 50, 100 years. That's your challenge. Okay, our challenge. All right. So think about that argument, the middle argument, and think about where do you fit into that over the next 10 minutes. Also, what I would like you to do, give me and the group some feedback on their presentation. So we had enthusiasm, research, measured analysis, those sort of things. Anything you learned from that for your presentations? Anything you think they could do better? Anything you did really, really well? Start with the positive. So have 10 minutes, think about that middle ground. Yeah. And me, you, what's your contribution to that middle ground? Alright? And I'll give you some feedback then, guys. But they did brilliantly, didn't they? Fantastic. Loved it long time. Very good. If you leave it on, yeah, I'll leave it. Good. Okay? Well done. Is this your presentation? Yeah. Taking numbers? Yeah. So talk me to twos and threes.